There you go. A little bit of Georgia on my mind to get us started off with tonight. All right. Hey, I tried to incorporate as much as I could the licks that we learned last week. Remember our little... I tried to use that one, and then I used... That worked great, kind of a major sound, but then I also did it up here. Where it was a little bit more of a bluesy sound. Remember how I told you could use them in both places? So when it's over that F, and I want to sound just sweet, you know, I can use it with the major root. If I want to sound bluesy, then I use it with the minor root. There you go. There you go. All right, so different ideas for that. If you can go ahead and scroll down on the chat there so I can see the most recent things. Goldbug is saying, how do you make different licks work into a variety of music when soloing? I feel like I use scales too much. Well, hey, Goldbug, I did a lesson, gosh, probably about a month or two ago that was like making the leap from scales to solos. So you might look at that one. You might look at that one because we covered some great material there. But here's some ideas on that. How do you incorporate different licks into a variety of music when soloing? I feel like I use scales too much. Okay, so too much of a reliance on scales. Some of the concepts we talked about in that lesson of making the leap from scales into solos is to not start the scale and always feel like you have to go linearly up it. You know, it just doesn't work that way. So those are, you have to think of scales differently. Instead of thinking of them as a ladder, always going up and down, we need to think of them as just kind of 8 crayons we've got in our crayon box that we can use. And I can use any one of them at any point in time as long as it's with what's going on with the chord. So just to give you an idea, hey, let's put on that Georgia on My Mind track one more time. And let me kind of talk you through some of the ideas that I'm doing as I'm playing a solo. So if we could get that track going again for Georgia on My Mind, producer, if we could play that track. This is in the key of F major. Okay, so go ahead and let it go. If it's in the key of F major, I'm gonna, I could play an F scale, but it's going to sound
1, 2,
and that's not what I want to do.
4.
So I'm just going to take maybe the 3rd and the 5th. And it's going through some other chords, but they're all kind of in the key of F. Every note I've played is in the key of F. Okay, so I haven't varied, but I haven't done the scale. I haven't gone up and down the ladder. That's what I want you to see. I could start on any note. Let me start on, let's say, a D. Stay with my D idea because it's coming around to the bridge and it uses a lot of D minor. I'm just outlining kind of a D minor. Now I went to a B natural there because that's a G chord. It's a little bit different. That's why it sticks out. So I made sure and hit that B natural. Things we talked about there was also going from the melody. There's Here's the melody. So I'm just kind of varying the melody. There you go. Some different ideas. Check out that one lesson. That might be a little bit more helpful to you. All right. Good job. Randy 120 is saying, what is the vertical line over or under some notes fret number in tab? Is that a pre-bend? Okay, without actually knowing what you're looking at, it's hard for me to tell. But a lot of times when you see a note in tab, it gives you the note that you start the bend on, and then you will see this arrow that's kind of pointing up, and then usually sometimes you'll see like a fraction next to it, like a half or a 1, which would be a whole step. So that's telling you, let's say if I wanted to be on this G and I wanted to go up to an A, okay, so they're telling me that's what they want me to do. So in the tab, often you'll see this notation, which will be the 2nd string, 8th fret, and then it'll have that line going up, and it'll say 1 or whole next to it. That means I'm going a whole step up. If it just says half, that means I'm just going a half step up. And that's somehow of how they notate bends in tab. Brian is asking a great question. Are there any drills for keeping fingers closer to the fretboard? Keeping fingers from flying all over? The short answer is no. I don't know of any to do that. But the reason your fingers are flying off the fretboard is because they're not relaxed. Why are they aren't relaxed? Because they're stressed out. Why are they stressed out? Because they don't quite know what's going on yet, what to do yet. Okay, so when they're still figuring out what to do, what note am I supposed to be playing? Is that a 3rd finger? Is that a 4th finger? All of these things confuse neurologically what's going on down here. And when your hand is confused, you may hit the right 3rd finger, but everything else is also stressed out down there. So you end up with these fingers that are all way up in this real stressed out position. I'm like, Steve, my hand's tired. Well, yes, because you're hitting the right note, but your whole hand is like that. Okay, so what you need to do for that, I have no exercise other than to constantly remind yourself to relax. Relax that hand. Now, as you get more familiar with a piece of music, more familiar with a finger pattern, whatever is stressing your hand out neurologically at that moment, your hand should begin to relax a little bit. But watch that. It'll happen on this hand. It'll happen on this hand too. You'll see it sometimes. You'll be picking, and I got some students that this is always stressed out like that. Relax, relax, relax. That pinky doesn't need to be out like that all the time. Okay, it just like it will eventually calm down once you just kind of remind yourself to relax. So I'm afraid I don't have any secret magic sauce for that one, other than just constantly reminding yourself your hand to relax that hand, okay? Which is a good reminder for any type of playing. Guitar playing is stressful enough. You need to remind your hand constantly to relax. Alan is asking, Steve, I'm in a normal tuning on the guitar. Should all strings be in the same octave? I don't know what you're talking about right there. Because a normal standard tuning on guitar, I had my handy dandy tuner right here. In fact, let me put it in the front so you can see it. Okay. Now I can't really see it, but okay. Now I'm playing an E. Now, but that's not in the same octave as the low E, okay? The low E is 2 octaves below the high E. Same note, 2 octaves apart. So should they all be in the same octave? No, they should not be in the same octave. An opening tuning on guitar covers about a 3 octave range. Brian is saying, can you provide some simple pull-off drills? Sure, Brian, that's an easy one. Okay, here's a great pull-off drill. I'm going to screw our camera up here for a second while I go up like this, but I want you to see this. Okay, so if I put my hand here, let's say on the 5th position, and so I've got my pinky on the 1st string 8th fret. Okay, this is a pull-off exercise. Okay, so it's pulling off from the 4th to the 3rd, to the 4th to the 2nd, 4th to the 1st, 4th to the 1st stretch, back to the 4th to 1st, 4th to 2, 4th 3. Remember, when I'm pulling off, the string or the finger that it's pulling off to is already in place, already planted. Okay. And so he's actually providing a little bit of back pressure. So while he's pulling down, this guy is pushing ever so slightly up. So I don't pull off the neck. If they were all pulling down, then they just pull off the neck. And the reverse of that is a hammer-on exercise. And you can go back and forth. And the reverse the other way. Something like that. Do it on all the strings. Again, it's going to be easier on electric than it is on acoustic. Acoustic has thicker strings, but that's a great pull-off exercise for that. Pull-offs are tricky. You want to try and get the same tone and roughly the same volume as you can before. It takes practice and hand strength, but you can get there. Okay. Fred is saying, how about some tips on how to play harmonics? All right. Well, here's harmonics on electric. My first tip on playing harmonics on electric is use your back pickup. Use your treble pickup. You got to know a little bit of the physics of the string, okay? What is a harmonic? Okay, well, here's my my low E, okay? It's vibrating from this point to this point, okay? So in the exact midway point of this, we have, in science, it's called a node. Let me take you all the way back to 7th grade physical science. Properties of a string. When I have a string that's vibrating, and right in the middle of it, you'll see what's called a node. In guitar world, we call that a harmonic. Okay? So that's in the exact middle, it's there. Well, Steve, if it's divided in 2, then it would be in the middle. What if I divide it in 3? Hey, you get another one. Here's the 3rd point on a guitar, 1/3. There's the other one up there. So they happen at the 3rd. Steve, what if I divide it into quarters? Well, there's another one there. Of course, that's the middle one. Then there'd be another one way up here somewhere. Yep, there it is. Okay, so those are really the 3 ones that you'll use a lot. The natural harmonic on the 12th, the 5th harmonic, which is on the 7th fret, and then the octave harmonic on the 5th fret. Listen to the sound of them. I have the fundamental, an octave above that, I have this 1st harmonic, a 5th above that, I have that, a 4th above that is now that high E way up there, duh, which is 2 octaves above there. So that's harmonics. So now I'm getting them nice and clear because I'm using my back pickup. Harmonics are excited most around toward the end of the string. Okay, so when I put up to my neck pickup up here, he's still there. You can just barely hear him because it's vibrating more down here. But when I use my back pickup, hey, throw in a little distortion. I get all kinds of harmonics way up there, so that's a little cheats of how you can do that on electric. Hey, Brian is asking, what is a ghost note? Well, it's one that happens and it's very scary. No, I'm just kidding. A ghost note. Here's what a ghost note is. All right, sometimes before a real note, okay, a note that you're going for, you have maybe a little hammer onto it. Okay, the note I'm going for is this one. But there's also this little... I'm starting on one note and quickly going to the next one. So I have a target note, but I have maybe some other notes before the target note. So it could just be one, it could be three. You know, what if I'm going to this one and I go... All of this would be considered ghost notes. How those are written in music is you'll see the main target note written in one size, the normal size, and then you'll see these smaller notes right in front of it. They're smaller. They got smaller note heads. They're kind of squished down a little bit. Sometimes they'll have a beam on them with a slash through it. Those are called ghost notes, and those are notes that you start on before you get to the target note. So that's what a ghost note is. John is asking a great question. Hey, what's the best way to learn an unfamiliar piece of music? To actually listen to the piece first? Yes, listen to the piece first so you know what you're going for. A wonderful piece of advice. Yes. Find a recording. Know what you're trying to go. Know the direction you're trying to hit, the target you're trying to hit before you do that. But Steve, I want to have my own interpretation, and I want to... Okay, that's great. That's great. But I'm telling you, you're gonna... Not that you're trying to copy what you listen to on the recording, but that it's giving you a vision of what's going on, okay? Which is so helpful. If you don't have that, you could fumble around for a week or two before you actually even figure out how the song is supposed to go. And then, if you listen to a YouTube recording of it, you go, okay, I get it. Save yourself some time. Please listen to the piece first. If you can find it, you can find anything on YouTube. At least give it a listen to know the melody. Now, it may be a different arrangement, maybe a chord melody thing, and you're just doing the single melody. That's okay. Just get an idea for the feel of the song. Else you could spend your 3 months learning a song, and then you finally get around to listening to a YouTube video and you go, oh my goodness, I'm playing it completely slow or completely wrong or completely different feel than what it should be. So that's some thoughts on that. Now, how I should go about doing it. All right, here are the steps. You ready? If you got a pencil, write this down. Okay? How do you learn a new song? Okay? This is how you do it. From someone who learns new songs weekly. I learn probably a dozen songs a week. I've got to play for this and that, and most of them I forget. But I'm learning chewing through a lot of new music most weeks. Between stuff I'm preparing for here, stuff I'm playing for various events and things like that. So here's what you do. If it's a piece I don't know, I first try and find some sort of written out music to it. Okay? I'll go to sheetmusic.com, musicnotes.com, something like that, and try and find, let's say I'm playing for a wedding and they want to do whatever piece, 1,000 Years by Katy Perry or whatever. Okay? So if I wasn't familiar with this song, the first thing I did, go onto one of these websites, get the music. Now, you can probably find it without paying for it, but chances are, there's a good chance, you're going to find a terrible, wrong, half-baked arrangement that some guy who doesn't know what he's doing fumbled through in his basement and figured out this arrangement and put it up on the internet. Okay? I'm not looking for that arrangement. I'm looking for how does the song go? Okay? So if I have to pay $1.99 to do that, it is well worth $1.99. And from those of us on the songwriting end of things, yes. Please pay your creators that are creating the wonderful music for us all. Okay? So I will download that. Okay? So then I have something to work on. Okay, so let's say I've got my guitar music all written out in front of me, and I'm not having to create an arrangement. I've got it right there in front of me. Okay, so what do I do? Well, the first thing I do is I just look at it. What key am I in? Is it in drop D? How fast does it go? What's on the page? Now, sometimes you'll be pulling something out of a songbook, which is like 10 pages long, and you got 4 measures on a page, and it's very difficult to pull any sort of real music off of it. Sometimes you'll have something that looks, like an arrangement, like that. Okay? So let's say you've got an arrangement like that, and you're trying to do it. First thing I do, look at the key, kind of know what you're doing, glance through it, kind of see what's going on and how it's notated. And then I just crank my way through it. I just grind my way through the piece. How do, I just grind my way through the piece. And it may take 5 minutes or 20 minutes. It's ugly, it's wrong, it's unrecognizable. But I've just got to know what I'm doing. Just got to know the parameters of the piece. Okay? Once I have that down, and I've played through the piece, now I need to start working it. So what's the process of working a piece of music? All right, here's where we go. You don't start at the beginning and work your way all the way to the end, and then start at the beginning and work your way all the end. That's the least efficient way to do it. Here's what you need to do: go the first 4 bars maybe, and work those first 4 bars. Okay. Don't overly worry about different stylistic things. Just get the notes underneath. Figure out where he's playing it, what's the most efficient way to do it. You're not going to solve every problem, but you're going to solve quite a few of them. And you may need to go in small bite-sized chunks. So I solve that first 2 measures, and then I do it again. Then I do it again. Then I do it again. Then I solve the next 2 measures. And then I add the first 2 measures to the next 2 measures, and I've got a 4-bar phrase. I could do the first line. Great. Whew. That's how you work a song, by chunks. It's this chunk method of doing it. It's so much infinitely more efficient than starting at the beginning, grinding your way all the way to the end. By the time you've done that, and you go back to the beginning, you've forgotten all the things that you need to learn. That on this one, you need to use this finger here. And on this one, we've got to use this chord there. Okay, here's what I do. I write it in. If it's anything unusual, hey, this song has a little hammer on here, so that means I've got to use my first finger there. I'll write it in the music. Get a pencil, write in my little finger notation there. Anything that's unusual that I'm not going to guess correctly on, I'll write it down on the piece of music so I don't have to remember it. It's too much. You're solving a problem that has 1,000 steps. You can't go from 1 to 1,000. You've got to go from 1 to 5 and work that a bunch of times. Let me, in another minute, if you can give me 1 more minute on this. You start adding all of these chunks together. Once you have all of the chunks lined up together, don't always start at the beginning. If you've worked the beginning, don't spend 15, 20 minutes always playing the beginning. Jump right to the problem part. If you've already learned the beginning, start at the middle and then work it that way. Once you have the piece down that way, write in the chord forms, write in the things that you're forgetting or that's trickier. If you try it in one position and it doesn't work, try it in another. And try and find where the guitarist played it at. Okay? Once you have all that stuff down and you can kind of play it, you're still making a whole bunch of mistakes, still got a lot of rough edges, but you can kind of play it. Then, and only then, would you start working on the timing of it with a metronome. Okay? So most people start working with a metronome way too fast. If you can't play it, putting you on a metronome is not going to help. Okay? So you've got to learn the song first and then start working your way through it. Okay? Ryan Davisky is saying, Steve, what type of tuner am I using? This is a great little tuner, my little friends. This is a TC Electronics Polytune. We're working actually with TC Electronics right now to try and get them in the store. But you can get them on Amazon now. In fact, I think there's a link. If you go down in the YouTube description, there's a link probably to this tuner in my YouTube description down there. These are a great tuner. You can get the little snark ones and pay $15, or you can get this one and pay 40 or 50. This one is 3 times more accurate. When I'm in the studio and I got a $4,000 mic aimed at my guitar, 6 inches from my guitar, a little snark tuner that kind of gets you close to being in tune is not enough. I need something that's more accurate. I like these because what it does is it works like a strobe. So like if I play, it'll show me green and it'll go right to where it needs to be. If I'm out of tune, it'll show me which direction I'm out of tune. And then when it's all green, it's in tune. And it's not just kind of in tune, it is right down to 2 cents. You measure tuning in cents, and it's down to 2 cents. And it's a great little tuner, okay? The Polytune by TC Electronics. You want to know what I use? This is what I use, okay? Sharon Tiano is saying, do I still practice daily or do I simply play? Yes and yes. I simply play a lot. I don't practice enough as I should, Sharon, to tell you the truth, as far as just skill building practice. I really should. I'm playing so much of the time and doing and working on other stuff that I would be better off if I still did a lot of skill building practice work. But usually I'm so busy playing that I'm working on trying to conquer whatever song I need to be able to play for that week. Steve Vegas is saying, what is the best backing track with tabs to learn, Georgia? On my mind. I have no idea. What I used there was the Real Book Volume 2, which is where I got it out of. And that was just a backing track that came with that. The Real Book Volume 1 and its backing tracks, we've got some of those in the store. There is the Real Book Volume 2, which I think we also have in the store, but there is backing tracks for those as well. Not every song in the book, but a good 80% of them. And they're great tracks. They're great tracks. So that's good. Another thing is you can go, if you're just looking to practice, man, I do this all the time. I just find a song, type in YouTube, all of me backing track, and you'll get 5, 6, 10 different backing tracks of varying qualities. But you can do that to plenty of good stuff to practice with these days. Don is saying a few words on how competitive the Nashville studio scene is and networking. We're in Nashville. Just about everybody plays great. The guy that's asking you, do you want fries with that at the Burger King, probably plays better than you. Okay? So that's the first thing you learn in Nashville. That everybody plays well. Now, having said that, there are great players, and there are players that really get into the studio scene. That is a very, very, very specific set of skills. There are touring guys. There are guys that spend their time backing up Carrie Underwood and on the road. There are studio guys that they don't go on tour. They are in the studio 2-3 sessions a day and constantly doing stuff like that. Dave Cleveland, Tom Hemby, Tom Bukovac, a lot of these wonderful guys. Stu G, I'd love to have him on the show. These are guys that are in the studio all the time and constantly doing stuff. Scott Bernard, another one. He does both. Scott's in the studio and he is on the road with Kenny Loggins. There's I could probably name half a dozen. Mark Baldwin is another one. There's a half dozen or a dozen guys that do this full time in Nashville at an A level. In various styles. Brent Mason isn't for the country chicken picking thing. Tom Bukovac, anything studio stuff coming out of Nashville. There's guys that specialize in acoustic, guys that specialize in electric. So it's how competitive is it? Very competitive. If you play well, you can get in it. If you like that kind of very detailed work, it's 95% boredom and 5% absolute terror for studio stuff. It's a different mindset. At first I initially kind of thought I wanted to do a lot of that. I kind of realized I don't like that level of pressure. I just don't do well with it. I can play well, but I just don't do. It's a whole lot more cranking out things than you would think. You crank out 6 tunes a day. 6 tunes in a 3-hour session. You are cranking out tunes. What is this? Okay, this is a bluegrass number. Okay, all right. This is going to be a top 40 kind of a hit. Okay, all right, there you go. You grab your guitar for that, and you do that, and you lay it down. You lay down acoustic tracks. You lay down electric tracks. And you do that, and you lay about 2 or 3 down. Do we need to double anything? Do we need a solo section? Do we need to do all that? Okay, great, we're done. All right, next one. All right, this next one's kind of a big pop ballad. Okay, grab. So I grab this guitar. I put up get my effects like this. Right, okay, how does the chart go? Okay, let's read it. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, and you read it down. It is very much a factory in a lot of these situations. You think it's this big creative thing. A lot of the music is just sheer factory making music all day long. It's great. It's a great life. It's a very specific kind of mindset to do it. O.E. Taylor is saying, is an acoustic okay for the gathering? Don't want to haul the electric and amp if I don't want to. Hey, we are going talking about our Guitar Gathering Conference, Guitar Gathering 2020. You can go on to guitargathering2020.com. We still have a few spots left in our smaller, socially distanced conference we're going to have here in about 5 or 6 weeks at the end of July. And it's going to be great. I would recommend bringing an acoustic. Acoustics generally are just easier to haul between classes and haul around than electric and an amp and stuff like that. So it's just a little bit easier to participate in the jams and stuff like that if you have an acoustic. But a lot of people bring their electric too, and they just don't worry about having an amp if they're not worried about being loud, just worried about playing along. So there you go. But yeah, check it out. We still have a couple of spots available if you're interested. It's going to be fun. We've got Robin Ford, blues jazz legend, Joe Robinson, fingerstyle guitar, Parker Hastings doing thumb picking. We've got David Greer, who I put up I saw David was doing a thing at the Station Inn or something a week ago. So if you go onto our Guitar Gathering Facebook page and check out, just go a couple of posts down, you'll see a live performance of David Greer. Wow, flat picking guitarist of the year. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So enjoy that. A lot of bluegrass flat picking stuff, and he's hilarious to listen to. John is saying, how do you know if the music is in drop D or dadgad? It says so on the music? Yes, it generally says so on the music. Drop D is just a standard tuning with a lowered 6-string down to D. I wonder what that is. Let me turn on my handy-dandy Polytuner. I'm going to drop this D. Now, one thing, when I tune it like this and I drop it, I generally try and tune it a little bit south of the pitch, because as I play, it's going to want to go back to its regular pitch, so it'll eventually go up. So you got to kind of piddle with the tuning a little bit. So a drop D is a very fun tuning. Okay, so drop D. Everything's normal. You can just play in D, but you got that low D on it. So let me get back up here to normal. Is the melody, John is saying, is the melody line the highest notes in the staff? Generally, in music that I write, I try and keep the melody as the top note of the staff with the stems going up. Now, is it that way for everything? No. That's just kind of how I do it. So generally, your melody is going to be on the top line and is going to be the highest note in the staff. But guitar music is written a little confusingly. Unlike piano music, which has a treble clef staff and a bass clef staff, a guitar music has to squish it all on the same staff. So it's almost like a projector machine, where you kind of have, here's the bass thing, and then overlaid on top of that is the accompaniment, overlaid on top of that is the melody. So you kind of have to dig through 3 or 4 different parts to actually figure out what you're doing. Goldbug is saying, how do you keep your right foot or right hand relaxed and then not feel like you will drop your pick? Practice. Practice on holding that pick. Sorry, some things I have great answers for. This one I don't have a great answer for that. Just work on holding that pick and still being relaxed with your hand. Physically, just work on holding the pick and still being relaxed with your hand. You don't need to play. You can just hold that pick and still be relaxed with your hand. Well, you're not like that, but you're just relaxed and holding that pick. Okay? Doug is saying, thoughts on Rosewood fretboard versus maple necks. I have no thoughts on that. Can I tell you that? I'm so sorry. I wish I had lots of deep thoughts, and there are guys on discussion boards, and I'm sure George Gruen could talk to you for years about the difference in sound between a rosewood fretboard and a maple neck. They're different colors. To me, it's a neck. The most of your sound on electric, does it make a difference if I have a rosewood versus a maple neck? I play guitar for a living. It doesn't make a difference. What matters on an electric guitar is your pickups, okay? And you know, kind of that. What type of wood is up here? Now, some guitar manufacturers will swear to you that's the difference, night and day difference between this and that and how the guitar is made. And Les Paul, it's got one block of wood all the way through, and that's the secret of most of your sound is in your fingers and in the pickups and the amp and things like that. So is it going to make a big sound difference? No, I've not found that to be true. On an acoustic, the types of wood of the body are going to make a different sound. Yes, definitely. Neck, much less so. Larry Sixstring is saying, brings up a valid point. Steve, what would you practice if you could? Well, I'm not very good at pop stuff. I'm not very good at rock stuff. I wish I was better at kind of 80s rock stuff. If I needed to do that more, I would love to spend some time practicing on that and doing that. Some guys, do that and love that and give me the Rush, give me a good Rush song and let me play in 7/8 for a while and do all that jazz fusion stuff. It's just never been my thing. So I've just not too musically interested in it. But that practically, for a skill that it would be valuable for me to have, it would be playing that sort of guitar a little bit better. But what would I practice if I could? If I could do whatever I wanted to, I'd play acoustic all the time, because I feel less like I can offer something unique on electric. There's so many great electric players here in Nashville. Steve Vegas is asking what guitar works best at a gathering, large Dread acoustic, J45, or a smaller acoustic. Doesn't matter. What guitar works great at the gathering? The guitar that you feel comfortable playing and that you feel comfortable traveling with. So don't bring your most expensive, oh my goodness, I'm going to bring my 1945 $50,000. No. Don't do that. Just leave that at home. Bring your knock around acoustic that you don't mind traveling with, and that'll be the one to bring for the thing. William Nelson is saying, is Greg Vorse going to be doing setups? I talked to Greg today. Yes, he will be doing guitar setups for the guitar gathering. So if you're interested in having one of the world's best guitar techs personally work on your instrument, we do guitar setups during the conference, and folks get their guitars worked on all the time on that. Ronald asking a great question. When soloing, how do you keep other strings from ringing? Here's what I do. Okay? I was never taught this area of my playing, so this is what I do. When I'm playing a low string, my pinky, so I'm going to preface all of this by saying this is just what I do, okay? So I don't know if this is the right way or anything like that. This is what I do. When I'm playing on the lower strings, I have my pinky, and I'm just touching the bottom of the string. Just touching the bottom. He's just rubbing along the bottom of the string. just rubbing along the bottom of the string. But Steve, what happens when you need to play that string? Then I rotate my hand just slightly to where the fleshy base part of my thumb is now covering the lower strings. So I'm constantly switching. When I'm playing high, I'm muting these lower strings. Those are not ringing out because I've got the fleshy part of my palm on them. When I'm playing the lower strings, I've got my first finger or my pinky on that first string, so it's not ringing out there. Someone was asking something about a modeling amp. Is a modeling amp a good idea for a novice? A modeling amp can give you a lot of different sounds, per dollar spent, and so that's good. And there's a whole lot of good ones these days. So the modeling amps are getting much better now. So yeah, modeling amps are great. Someone else was asking me about my picks. All right, here's my little pick holder, little coin purse I picked up somewhere along the way. Okay. Inside of that, I've got my regular standard Jim Dunlop nylon. This is a 88. I usually use a 73 or an 88. I like the nylon rather than the the plastic ones because the nylons don't tear. Okay. I've got other ones in here. This is a Groons pick. I wouldn't normally use that one. That's a little bit of a heavier pick. What do I have? I've got this little guy, a Jim Dunlop Jazz. That's a great little pick. It's got a pointed end. They have ones that have kind of an end that's more rounded. I don't like those. I like the pointed end. This is great. It's a smaller pick, and it's great for doing very technical, quick little things. So there's this little teardrop. This is a Jim Dunlop Jazz 3 pick. I want to say this may even be down in the YouTube links below. I'm not sure. Okay, so I use that when I'm on acoustic. So I've got my nylon string here. This is a dog. It's actually a mandolin pick. Okay, it's all rounded edges. I'll use that sometimes when I'm playing nylon string acoustic just to get a more pointed sound. Very good, pretty sounding pick. Where's my tuner here? And I use also, the other one that I use a lot of the time is this Jim Dunlop Thick, these purple stubbies. I'll use that. Sometimes it gets a little bit of a more pointed sound on when I'm on the acoustic. Hear that difference as opposed to the rounded pick? More pointed. All right. A couple more questions and then we're kind of running out of time. I wanted to talk to you before I get to a couple of last questions. Let me get tuned up here. I want to talk to you about how to take a lesson on guitar. And that may sound like a stupid thing to talk about, but I think it's really important that you not waste your money, waste your time, that you get the absolute most out of every lesson that you take. And here's some keys. Here's some keys for doing that. Okay? If I had to take a lesson today, and I went to my local music store, I found a good teacher, whatever. First thing, okay, record it. Put up your phone you go down to Best Buy, get a little thing to hold your phone up, and record the dumb lesson. If you're like me, you go to a lesson and the guy teaches you all this great stuff and you go, wow, that was great. You walk out and you go, man, that was amazing. By the time I get to the parking lot, I have forgotten what we talked about. Okay? So record it. Now we have a whole television studio in our pockets. Okay? Record it. That's the first thing. Always record so you can remember what's happening. I want to get the most I can out of whatever is coming out of that teacher. Second thing is tell the teacher what you want to learn, okay? And then trust the teacher, okay? So we're not going to talk about finding a good teacher. We're just going to talk about what to do when you get to the lesson. First of all, you're the one paying them. Tell them what you want to learn. I want to learn, the arrangement to this, or I want to learn how to solo, or I want to learn this. It will force them into doing what you want to do. You're the one paying them. As someone who's been a guitar instructor for a lot of years, one mistake that students make all the time is they just don't tell the direction that they're wanting to go. And so if you don't tell the direction, the guitar instructor will just start taking you somewhere that they feel, that you might want to go. So tell them what you want them to do. Now, here's the third thing. Trust them. Trust them. I have students that take lessons from me, and they're constantly fighting, and I have to explain everything to them, and it's just so labor intensive. Then I have other students who just say, "Tell me what I need to do to get there." Great. Okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and it's going to take about 4 months to get through all of that. If you really want to know how to do it, it's going to take about 3 or 4 months to get through it. Great. And then just trust them to walk you through it. So that's one thing. Trust your instructor to take you where you need to go. Okay? Record, write things down. Have them write down, before you leave the lesson, write down, either have them write down or you write down what you covered and what I'm supposed to do for next time. A lot of times it's all just so open-ended. Hey, dude, we'll see you next time, man. And nobody knows what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to cover, things like that. A good teacher will give you assignments of what to do. So these are just some tips on how to take a lesson. The wrong way to take a lesson is just to show up and not record, not write anything down, pay the guy whatever you're supposed to pay him, and then you leave and you forget everything. And then you come back in 3 weeks or 3 months and you go, you know what, I went through all those lessons and never learned a darn thing. That's because you never recorded it. You never wrote anything down. You never did the work. The fourth thing that you need to do is actually do what they tell you to do, okay? Do what they tell you to do. If they tell you to work on these exercises, do that. Don't just go, well, I don't think that's really what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, you as the student do not know what you need to do in order to be able to get where you need to go. So that comes into the trusting your instructor thing. Do what they tell you to do. Faithfully, every day, 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, however long you need to do it. Don't do it once, a half an hour before you go drive to the lesson. Not going to do you any good at all. Any good at all. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your money. Don't do that. Record it. Know what you want to do. Write it down. And then work on it every bit each day. You don't have to be an hour, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, everything, every day though. That's the secret. How do we get off on that? Okay. Before we get done, and I do another song, I wanted to let you know about this little exercise, this little tool that I have stumbled onto called the chord wheel. The link for this is in your is in the YouTube description below. And the more I try to actually get in touch with the guy that did it so I could have him on the show, or at least talk to him about it. And I kind of went through, he's got 12, 15 pages in the book and explains a little bit more about how to do this. And the more I'm getting familiar with this, the more I'm thinking, this is really a great tool. It tells you what chords are in each key, and then it tells you the function of each chord, the Roman numeral of each chord down here. These are the majors, these are the minors, this is the diminished. It tells you variations. Oh, on this 4 chord, I could use the major 7th, the major 9th, the major 13th. I could do it tells you variations of it. Over here, it even tells you like the 5 of the 5, a secondary dominant, or the 5 of the 3. So it tells you a lot of information. Hey, but Steve, I want to be in the key of D. Great. Move it over here to D. There's all my chords in the key of D. Shows me what the key signature is. Shows me what the relative minor is. It is a great little resource for that. It's not all that expensive. I think it's just about $15 or something like that. So this is a fun little tool. Okay, if you're wanting to know chords and keys and how they work together and stuff like that, this is the coolest little tool I have found lately for doing this. There's even an app. There's even an app called the Chord Wheel app that you can download. So if you're interested, check this out. This is a good resource. Okay. Let's see. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, we are going to be covering hearing chord changes. Probably one of the most important skills you have as an instrumentalist is to be able to hear basic chord changes. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow night. I also want to let you know, hey, we've got a recording challenge going on guitargathering.com, our discussion board there. This month's recording challenge is songs that have to do with power chords. If you're interested in stepping out, that's another thing we don't do enough as musicians, is stepping out and actually putting ourselves in a performing situation. That's a safe, good opportunity to do it, is the recording challenge. So go to guitargathering.com. You can even look at the top banner, and it will show you the what you need to do for the recording challenge. It's a lot of fun. Okay. All right. If you're interested in supporting this channel and supporting the work that we do, we got the super chat going on tonight. You can use the PayPal link to all of those resources. Go to help us do these free lessons. We love them. I love helping you guys out. Okay. All right. I think that's about enough of that. Let me just play you out with something. Yeah, I'll just play something. I won't do a track or anything. I don't know what I'll play. I'll end on something here in a second. Hey, there you go. Hey, we will see you guys next time. Stay tuned tomorrow for hearing chord changes. Keep up the great work in your own guitar learning. We'll see you guys next time.